Hey, everybody, you're going to want to listen all the way through this episode for all the number of times we mentioned Jamie Lee Curtis, from the serious stuff to the even more serious stuff.
Exactly. At least 97 times.
Yeah.
You're also going to find out how and why Timothy Chalamet is not a one-trick pony. Yeah.
Ooh, ponies.
Yeah. Enjoy the show, everyone.
Welcome back to yet another episode of 90's Now. Still happening. That's Kelly. I'm Sharon.
Yes.
Adam doesn't live here anymore. Just kidding. He's just he's just off. I actually saw him in person today
Yeah.
and in his new and large office.
Yeah. We can announce the news now, Sharon, because we couldn't before, but you can tell all the listeners.
It's true. He's the boss of everybody now, which I think um, I was saying to him today. He's the program director of
Energy.
Energy,
Yeah.
which is a brand in Quebec and a chain of radio stations that he'll be responsible for. I mean, he always had his hands on uh, what the overall sound was with particular shows, things like that. This is a kid, and I say kid because I'm old enough to be his mother, because he just turned 30 last year, right?
Yep.
And so he's just about to turn 31. That we joked with him when he first started helping us out with 90's Now that, he would be the boss one day. He'd take over everything. And that sort of, when you're young and you're not sure like that this is a job you even want to do, he was like, oh, okay. And look at that. He's now the boss and he's taking over. So if the future of radio is ever thought to be at risk, someone like Adam at the helm is a really good person to have on the inside. So congratulations to him.
And also just an update on, or I should say, of note is that I met him when he was 18. So
Mm-hmm.
now 30, so 12 years later, and he was an intern at the radio station. So there's something to be said to make sure that you do intern in whatever field of career that you want, because you can rise through the ranks and become
Yeah,
the program director of whatever. So
it's true.
he has, and I'm super proud of him. And I can literally remember him being on an event with me on a remote, which is when, the announcer goes out to like a store. And I think I was at Home Depot, and I remember him being with me as one of my street team members, like making sure I got through the remote okay. And so here we are all these years later.
Pretty incredible. And it's not for nothing. He totally has put the work in to get to where he is today. He's reliable, he knows stuff, and he's a kind of guy, kind of person that if he's not completely 100% comfortable with whatever the thing, he'll figure it out.
Oh yeah, he'll find the answer
Yeah.
like he does for us here on 90's.
Exactly. Can you Google
Yeah.
it? Even beyond Googling, he's quite gifted.
Yeah.
Now, for the show today, we've got a few things to tackle. Not a lot, but a lot of, and there is some positive, there is some heaviness too that we've got to get to. But we will be talking about um, Bruce Springsteen's story coming to the big screen. We're getting closer to that release. So we'll give you the update on that. Also, Pamela Anderson will share 5 words that put her anxieties to rest when it comes to her new movie that's getting all kinds of buzz. Kelly's trivia also getting all kinds of buzz because dang, it's hard.
It's true.
But if you get at least one right, like I did last time, you'll ride that like the success wave it can be. So that's coming up. We'll smooth the edges off by going back to the golden year for hip hop and some other songs that were going on around this time in 1993 with your 90's rewind. And the heaviness I think that we should talk about right away because it is making news all around the world is the fires in Los Angeles.
Yep.
So let's start there. I was listening to BBC Radio 2 the other day, and their top hour news package, first or second story, was the fires in Los Angeles. So, yes, uh, crazy to think that by the time were recording our last episode of 90's Now, that we were talking about the Golden Globes. that were awarded in Los Angeles, and then within 48 hours, complete devastation for pockets of that city.
Yeah.
So it's bonkers to think that this, the glitz and glamour of what Hollywood and Los Angeles are typically known for, the exact opposite of that has devastated lives, taken homes away, taken lives away. At this point, at last check, there were at least um, a couple of dozen people that had lost their lives, and other people that not had not yet been accounted for. So it's horrible. Any of the celebrities that live in Los Angeles that you follow on social media, you've likely seen them go live, uh, either with, here's what's going on around me, or places where you can make donations to help people that aren't in a position to, rest on the shine of their own stardom,
Hmm.
and counter that with some negativity that's also going on social media, with people saying some awful stuff. I don't think that actually we should focus too much on the awful stuff. Just the fact that I think if you're looking at someone's life, however far removed from yours, they've still lost their home.
Hmm.
It's still their home. It still had their memories in it. It, etc. It's devastating for them. So, um, all the power to. I saw Jimmy Kimmel actually share a video of some positive stuff that was going on, and he broke up. It's hard for people to get through something like this, and it's that kind of natural disaster too, that you know in a lot of cases it stops at a certain point. So a whole this side of the neighborhood is gone, and these homes are fine. There's some of that happening too, which I'm sure is, you've got survivor's guilt going on. It's just a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned survivor's guilt because Cameron Matheson, who, is a very well-known actor in the soap world, also, I think he's done a bunch of like Hallmark movies or whatever. And then he was
Mm-hmm.
also for a while, I think he was wasn't he a host or a co-host on Entertainment Tonight? He was doing that, I think.
Okay.
Um, anyways, he lost his home. And a few days after he lost his home, I thought this was extremely eloquent, and it was actually shared. I saw it. I do follow Cameron, but it was actually shared by another soap actor who just said how eloquent his message was, which he said, it was like a short video, maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes long. And he just said, he's like, I've seen some people now, like from my area, whose homes did survive. And he's like, all these people seem to be harboring survivor's guilt. And he's like, please don't. He's like, all of us that did lose our homes are so happy for you because you made it. And it gives us hope. And I just thought, like, after all he's lost, for him to
Mm-hmm.
have such an amazing thought process to share and to put out there to the people that do still have their homes. I just thought that was extremely eloquent of him to do that. And I think, like you mentioned, there's some other celebrities, and I know the list keeps growing, but a big shout out to Jamie Lee Curtis, who was on it right away, like trying to
Mm-hmm.
share the news, has offered up $1 million from her family foundation. Paris Hilton, who in the past has gotten so much slack or slagged, she lost her home. She's already put up $100,000 and is going to match up to another 100,000 more if people donate, So, and she's been sharing some other things. And again, I just think that's amazing of her considering she lost her home, And yes, she is
Mm-hmm.
quite wealthy. She will figure it out, but she doesn't have to do this. And I just thought that was great. And now Beyonce's given, I think it's 2.5 million bucks from her Bay Good Foundation. So
Yeah.
the list keeps growing. I also wanted to give a shout out to some of the entertainment companies. I know I read that I think it's the Walt Disney Company is giving 15 million. Paramount was giving $100,000 or no, 1 million, sorry. And now people are starting to do more, and organizations are starting to do more. And I think they need to, especially a shout out to all the firefighters and the police officers and the nurses and the doctors and the support staff that are trying to keep, the city getting through this. So.
Mm-hmm. During the at the beginning, first couple of days, we were covering the story on our show, uh, because one of the stories is that Canadian firefighters had gone down, sent uh, planes that are designed to fight fires. And then one of the stories was a drone crashing into one of the Quebec aircrafts, putting a pretty decent hole in it, but sidelining that thing because an non-official or not sanctioned drone was up there looking around and basically, took 30 minutes away of trying to fight the fires. So
Yeah.
it's a crazy time, I think, when you think of what we have access to information wise, technology wise, that people think that they have a right to sort of, put their nose in their drone and let's see what's going on. It's
Yeah.
thankfully it seems to have been on pause
Hmm.
for now. I know that their weather conditions are not conducive to it staying on pause.
Yeah.
So we'll keep them in our prayers and positive thoughts. You mentioned Jamie Lee Curtis, who was an ambassador for the Red Cross. I saw her in an interview talking about having a go bag ready,
Yeah.
like with certain things that you would need in the case of this kind of a disaster,
Hmm.
just so that you're not scrambling, so that you can get out and salvage some part of your life while you have to make a run for it.
Yeah. It's crazy. And like,
Yeah.
and I read a statement that I thought was amazing because I think so many of us, the perception of Los Angeles is that it's, the entertainment capital. It's the land of riches and fame and all that stuff. But
Hmm.
somebody actually wrote, and I don't know who it is, so I can't credit it, but it was like Los Angeles at its core is a blue collar city, trying to do what it needs to do, and is also the home of every person who's a black sheep from other states that comes there to try to make their art. And I
Right.
I just thought that was pretty bang on.
Yep. And it's not all wealthy people that are there, clearly. And whatever level of income people are in, like we said at the start of this conversation, it's still their home
Hmm.
and it's still their stuff and it's still their memories. And it's a community, which has been nice to see people getting together and helping each other and trying to move forward in the face of something so heartbreakingly sad.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of love going out to the blue collar folks who do not have the resources of other people that need to
Yeah.
get through this also.
Yeah. We'll keep you posted because it's certainly far from over on that. We
Yeah.
will have more wisdom from Jamie Lee Curtis because it's her 5 words that put Pamela Anderson's anxieties to rest a little bit. But we'll get to that after we get into Kelly's trivia.
As we should, because it's fun.
Meow,
Very
meow.
much fun. Yeah. So, Sharon, news and politics or pop culture? Which one would you like?
I'll take news and politics first.
Okie dokie. In 1992, which U.S. holiday marked a 500-year anniversary but was met with angry protests?
Um, Emancipation?
Columbus Day.
Damn it. Do you know what? I was going to say 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And like I went through that whole high school rhyme. I'm like, it's probably not that. Why was it met with, do we know why it was met with such rage?
The
The heck?
fancy card does not elaborate. And if Adam was here, we would have him Google that.
That's true.
So, yeah.
And I care only a little bit. So
Yeah.
I'm not looking either.
Over to pop culture. What is the more common name for a neck piece made of feathers?
A boa?
There you go.
Meow, meow.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I'm allergic to feathers.
Are you?
Yeah,
We've never had that discussion.
I can't wear a boa.
Really?
Hmm.
Well, there goes my birthday celebrations this year.
You wear the boa.
All right.
You do it.
Fair enough.
See, so at the start of the show, we talked about how even getting one of Kelly's trivia answers right was a feel good, and it is
Yeah.
a feel good.
Yeah.
So let's go to the movies on a couple of occasions. The first of which is Jamie Lee Curtis and
Hmm.
her enthusiasm in general for every single thing. But her enthusiasm for the new movie that she's made with Pamela Anderson. And I want to make sure I get the quote right.
Our Canuck, Pamela Anderson.
Yes, our Canuck Pamela Anderson, who is done the rounds of talk shows and stuff with no makeup
Hmm.
and is continuing to do that. So when it was originally sort of proposed that we can do this, I think Drew Barrymore did it, and Valerie Bertinelli was on that show, and Gail King was on that show, and Pamela Anderson. They all look fantastic. And that's your choice to wear makeup or not wear makeup. They made their choice. Um, Pamela Anderson is sticking to it, and I love it. I love that she's embracing herself and the calm with which she has discovered, and the you know the quality of work that she herself knows that she is able to make. I think that for this movie with Jamie Lee Curtis, and as you can tell, I'm trying to find the name of the movie, The Last
Showgirls?
Showgirl.
The last show. There we
Brother.
go.
Um, uh, she was nervous
Yeah.
because I think your whole career is based on your look and your look and your look, and she's talented,
Hmm.
obviously, but it was rooted in looks, period. So, then you get a bit nervous and you start to have self doubt. And then Jamie Lee Curtis gives her 5 words that lifts all the weight of the anxiety off her. And those words were, as she said, she grabbed me by the shoulders, looked me in the eye, and said, "I did this for you." Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine Jamie Lee Curtis saying that to Pamela Anderson with such history and such, as Pamela Anderson describes her as a champion of women, and that she's fearless. So to have someone like that on your side had to lift everything off and let them go forward in the healthy and strong way that those two women, as powerful as they are able.
So
I am very interested in seeing this movie.
I was going to ask you because you and I never made it to the Gladiator 2 movie.
Oh, there's so many movies I have not yet seen, but I would love to. I love going to the movies.
So then we have to do this because, like, all over the holidays, well, you were off and then you had things to do, and then I ended up working a bunch of the holidays. So
Mhm.
our schedule did not match up, but maybe they'll have a twofer, Sharon, where we
Ooh,
actually I heard
if I could bring my dog, I would. That would be fun.
oh, that'd be good. I heard though that I don't did you hear this that here in Quebec or whatever they're gonna do like for the month of is it January, February, like $5 Tuesday or something?
Oh, I did not hear that, and I
I
like
think
it.
so. So check that out. So yeah, I want to see this movie also, and I wanted to just give a shout out to Pamela Anderson for everything because I think she's in this renaissance for her career and herself, which is
Yep.
amazing. And I just love Jamie Lee Curtis. Like she's also, I think, I mean, it's been a few years, I think, where she's been in like her own renaissance. But now I think with what she's done, and didn't she just win an Oscar? Was it last year? She won the Oscar? Didn't she win an Oscar last year? Or a
She
Golden
did,
Globe?
didn't she? Well, she won something, and oh, was it for her role in The Bear?
Uh, well, it
It's
wasn't
possible because
maybe.
she is very good in that
Yeah,
role.
so she's just ridiculous. And now again, I think so many people are watching her as she champions the city through what's going on.
Yeah. Yep.
I just think like she should be governor of California. Like,
Well, she's at that level where and she's been there for a long time, where she uses her powers for good, and she's had power in that business, in that town, for decades, for 50 years.
yeah. And isn't she the one when we talked a couple of years ago where she said she wishes concerts were at 1 o'clock so
Yep.
she ain't going out at 9 o'clock or whatever?
Yeah,
That's hot.
true. And Hollywood royalty, her mother and father were gigantic actors, right?
Hmm.
Um, and her mother was in what was that movie called?
There's so many of those, Shannon.
With the oh my God,
Jack
Anthony
Nicholson?
Bates, Psycho.
Oh, Psycho. Okay.
Yeah. And her father's Tony Curtis, who also had a Flintstones character named after him, Stony Curtis. Uh, my point being is that she is a working actor,
Hmm.
and she's at the level of she gets that there is work to be done, so she knows, I think, how to put her power to
Yeah.
good use, which is great.
Yeah.
Um, And again, if you haven't seen The Bear, it's worth a watch. I never understand why that show is nominated in a comedy category. Doesn't make sense to me at all. It's rarely funny in a way that you're like, that's comedy. There are funny moments, but I don't think it's a comedy, especially when you are introduced to her and her character.
Really? What streamer is that on?
What is that? Is that Apple?
It's not Netflix.
If it's not Netflix, it's Apple.
Okay.
And the third season, I think, is the next to come out.
I don't think it's
And
on Netflix.
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah.
But it's, you know what? We don't have to sell those streaming services because it's easy to Google.
Yeah.
And if Adam were here, he'd tell us. But you guys have access to Google too, so you can check.
Yeah.
You can be our Adam. But either way, The Bear.
Yeah.
There are funny moments, though I don't think it's a comedy. And again, especially when you consider her character, she is incredible
Really,
in that role.
love it.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, just to watch her. And she's not in it a lot. That's the thing. Physically, she
Okay.
is present because of her impact on her children in the show
Hmm.
and her relatives in the show.
Hmm.
But then when she comes on, it's like an emotional explosion.
Amazing.
Yeah, incredible to watch. So good on Jamie Lee Curtis and good on her for being able to, transcend that over and alleviate the pressure of Pamela Anderson for the movie The Last Showgirl, which we can look forward to seeing. Now, Jamie Lee Curtis's co-star in The Bear is also the star of the new Bruce Springsteen movie, Deliver Me from Nowhere. It's Jeremy Allen White, who actually is the bear in the show, which is the character name. He's a human, not an actual bear. Just like he's playing a giant in this movie, Deliver Me from Nowhere, but he's playing a human named Bruce Springsteen. So they had wrapped up production, I guess, by the end of the year, and there were still some location shots that needed to be done in order to make its way for a release in 2025. And yes, we are at the beginning of 2025. There are at least at this point another 50 weeks that they have to pick a release date for this movie, but I'm super looking forward to it. How about you?
Yeah, I think I will take a look. And I actually wanted to go see the Timothy Chalamet Bob
Oh,
Dylan thing.
same. The
So,
fact that I love my co-host was telling me that when they started doing that film, um, it was just before COVID hit.
mm,
So he had had some time to practice guitar and stuff, and then COVID hit, and that was it. So the movie was shelved for a little while,
yeah,
but then he had 5 years or 4 years to practice and get better on guitar and sing. So he sings and plays in that character in the movie. So I've heard um, the cover versions of songs from the movie on the radio,
oh
and
yeah,
it's close enough. You're like, is that like
yeah,
so? Which is really cool because Bob Dylan's so unique in his delivery
hmm,
and his his writing and his style overall. So that Timothy Chalamet being able to capture that and have the time to devote to develop his character in that way is really cool. So yeah, I wanted to see that one too over the holidays, and
yeah. And
I
I
just ended up staying in my sweatpants.
That's perfect. And I should mention, shout out to Timothy Chalamet. I don't know if you've seen this, Sharon, but as of the January 25th episode of SNL, he will be the guest host and the musical guest. And
Ooh,
what's crazy is somebody had made mention, they're like Timothy Chalamet has never like officially released a song, right? Like he's not
right.
a singer, right? Like he's not,
No,
you
he's
know.
an actor.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what he like. I'm assuming it'll be songs from the Bob Dylan movie,
I
but
hope so.
yeah, like we don't know. Like we don't know. And this will be I think it's his third time hosting SNL, so it should be good. And then January 18th is Dave Chappelle and Glorilla are the
Nice.
yeah.
There was I was thinking you think of the third time, once they hit 5 times they get their ceremonial jacket.
Yep.
And so they did that at the end of the year when Martin Short hosted on his own, not Steve Martin this time, and he got his jacket. And oh my gosh, that was a funny one. Like funny.
There's no one like Martin Short. Like nobody can do what he can do. Like he's just in his own category.
He did a skit with where it's two cars at the mall and they're both going for the same parking spot. Have you seen that one?
No.
Well, they're gesturing, right? This is my spot, and they're like completely physical about what they're gesturing in sign language, and it's hilarious. And then Melissa McCarthy shows up, and she's the wife who's on the outside of the other car. And I mean, find it online. Do yourself a favor and find it online because, and I'm sure you know what, I think you can find it on Instagram because NBC would have released that or SNL would have released that on
Yeah.
Instagram. It's Melissa McCarthy has the gift of commitment to her character,
Yeah.
whatever the character. And this is like startlingly funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Because remember when
She's on it for like 2 minutes and you're like, jaw drop, rewind, gotta watch that again. It was so good.
do you remember when she did the female basketball coach? Like,
Yes, it's in that vein.
okay, because she remember she's throwing like basketballs at like her team.
Toasters. Yeah, yeah. It's that.
Yeah, she really, as you would say, a commitment to the role. Like she really, that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I remember she just, I think it was like October, November, her and her husband and some other of their friends had released a podcast. Hildy, I think, is the character. It's sort of like fantasy storyline. It's a
yeah.
podcast. There's no visual to this event.
Okay,
So it's like a story. It's acted out and it's them. And it's like obviously a passion project for them.
yeah.
But they did interviews in costume. I guess to sort of paint the picture of who the characters were. But again, there are no visuals to this podcast. It's just audio. But that's her commitment to the character.
She's, but even like in Bridesmaids, like she just,
Oh my God. Too much.
yeah,
Too good. Too funny.
yeah, yeah. Wait
I
till
love that.
when she's like 70 or 80, she'll be getting like the Carol Burnett Award
Oh,
of,
without a doubt.
yeah.
You are a hundo right, Kelly. How about we go back to 1993,
Let's do it.
starting off the year that would then be dubbed the golden year of hip hop. Um, and Mary J. Blige is on the list of this handful of songs that represent this time in 1993 with Real Love. Who isn't looking for that, right? She was searching for it. Um, and, pair that with Arrested Development
Oh,
and the story of Mr. Wendell.
there we are.
They were here to teach, man, and they did their job.
Yeah.
Madonna, Deeper and Deeper happens to be one of my favorite Madonna songs in the world. And you know what? I would put it on my top 20 list of favorite songs of all time.
Really? That's great.
20.
And that says a lot because you're also the queen of rock.
You're nice.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Is
Um, a song that I like, but I wouldn't keep in my top 20 would be thanks to PM Dawn, mostly because they whisper sing. So I Die Without You was the song that was doing pretty well around this time in 1993, likely left over from 1992, which is all very good. Rhythm is a Dancer, duh. Snap was on the charts and doing pretty well. Same deal for since we talked a couple of movies, we should mention Peebo Bryson and Regina Bell in A Whole New World.
Oh,
Kelly.
that was an epic jam, like a
Yeah,
power ballad. Yeah.
yeah. And I say it and I look away
Yeah.
as if I'm looking at a whole new
Yeah.
world.
Very dramatic.
There's only one Peebo, right?
There is. Yeah.
There could only be.
Yeah.
Number one on the charts, and no surprise, around this time in 1993, Whitney Houston and I Will Always Love You.
Go, girl.
Yep. Padding Dolly Parton's retirement fund.
Yeah.
You know the story about Dolly Parton and that song, eh? And that Elvis Presley was considering doing it.
Oh, I did not know that.
And she had a meeting with, I think, him and the Colonel. And then after, I think the Colonel said, well, Elvis will get the publishing on that. And she said, well, no. And he said, well, that's how it works. He gets a percentage. And she said, no. He said, well, if that's the deal with him. And if you're not willing, then he won't do it. She's like, all right. And he didn't do it.
Good for her.
because she's Dolly Parton and that's what you do.
Yeah.
She had faith in herself and to not give it away.
What a boss.
Well, yeah, that was a boss move. Because clearly, however many years later, let's say, you know, at least 30,
Yeah.
Whitney Houston's making it a number one song, and Dolly Parton's going, yeah,
Yeah.
huh.
I told you.
There you go, Colonel.
Boss move from
Yep.
Dolly.
So that's your 90s rewind.
Good job, Sharon.
And that's our show.
That's it. Yeah.
Bye.
More than enough.
The
Yeah.
quick exit. No, we appreciate you guys finding us wherever it is that you do and sharing that with friends and stuff. And we'll check back, like we said, on what's going on in Los Angeles with the fires there, and hope that wherever you are in the world, that you're safe and happy and healthy.
Yep. J'agree.
That's French for she agrees.
Yeah.
We're here to teach,
Yeah.
not just about our favorite decade and all the fun that comes out of the 90s, but a bit of français. Merci tout le monde. Thank you, everybody, for listening to 90s Now, still happening.